Dr. G here. It's time to operate. Today we're going to dissect Proud Mary by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, Proud Mary is the first song I ever learned how to play. It's easy. Well, I think you're going to see that that's not the case. And some of you may be thinking, well, I've already looked into this. I've studied John Fogerty, seen his videos. He takes his black Les Paul, he tunes it down a whole step, which is D standard tuning, and he plays it that way. But what John played on the live recordings is not what he played on the studio recording. I'm going to show you something I think you've never seen before. There were two guitar players in Creedence, John Fogerty and his brother Tom. Tom does play the song in standard tuning. John, however, plays it, and this is the first secret, in double drop D tuning. And what that means is both the low E and the high E on the guitar are tuned down to D. Let's get right to it. I'm going to play it for you slowly first, and then I'm going to compare it to video of Creedence playing it slowly. Watch this video of the intro. Notice that he starts by strumming it, and he then goes to picking the F chord. Watch his right hand. He's using the pick and two other fingers to go. And right after that, he plays a single note. It's the low D on the E string, which tells us that that's tuned down. He plays it like this. Let's watch John play the intro in slow motion. Here's a very important thing about the introduction that most people just don't realize. It's not just C to A with a space in between. He strums in between that while he's moving his hand from one chord to the other. And that strum in between is basically a G chord because of the way that the guitar is tuned. You start with C, then you down strum the high four strings, and then up strum the A chord, and then you repeat it. And then you continue with the open G chord throughout the remainder of the intro, which helps with the syncopation. From that same video, we're going to see a close-up of John's strumming hand in the introduction, which gives us a good clue about what he's actually doing. Here's that big secret during the verses, as I mentioned before, double drop D tuning, and that's what gives you that, what they call swamp sound of John Fogerty, that really is a beautiful thing. The low E is tuned down to D, the high E is tuned down to D. You put your index finger on the second fret of the G string, middle finger on the third fret of the B string to give you this. Then what he adds on top of that is using his ring finger to throw in additional notes. In the video, specifically, he does this. Let's watch what John plays on the verse in slow motion. Bet you gonna find some people who live. You don't have to worry, 'cause you have no money. You may have noticed that the down strum is done with the pick and the up strum with his middle and ring fingers in this particular video. Sometimes he uses the pick for the down and the up strum. The studio recording, however, is slightly different. He alternates in various patterns, adding an F sharp note on the D string and a B note on the G string. Listen to this isolated track from the studio recording. From that swampy D rumble, he then goes to an A7, and I put my pinky on the second fret of the high E string, and that rolls into the B minor, which John is only playing 3 strings, the D, G, and B strings. And he uses his thumb to mute 2 low strings and an index finger to mute the high string. And if you play it with your middle finger, ring, and pinky, you can then make a quick change to the D by just putting your index finger down and then strum the whole guitar. In the foreground, you can see what Tom is playing. He plays in standard tuning, fingering just a D chord to start, switching to A7, and then a full B minor bar chord. I'm now going to show you what John has played live for many years, only to explain why it's not what he played on the studio recording. I'm going to show you what John does live. He takes his black Les Paul and he tunes it to D standard tuning, which means he tunes down each string a whole step, which gives you D, G, C, F, A, D. He then fingers the chords so that it will give it the right sound. So the first chord is not C, but D. He goes from D to B, D to B, D, B, A, G to E. The first reason why this is not what he played on the studio recording, the first chord D and the second chord B should have an A in between them, but that's not possible with this tuning. If you strum the open strings with this live tuning, in between the major chord changes, you will not get what you need, which is an A chord. So you get just a silence. Sounds like this. Another reason why this is not the tuning that he used on the studio recording is that when he gets to the last chord that he plays during the verses, he does add the pinky on the B string, which gives you this. But that's not what he does on the studio recording. He also has a G sharp note. But when you tune the guitar like this, the G sharp is already in the chord, so you can't add a finger to create it. So he only plays part of what is on the studio recording by just adding his pinky on the B string. Okay, I'd like to say a word about Tom Fogerty's part at the end of the introduction. When you get down to the F chord, John plays a low D note at the same time that Tom plays a high D note and then goes to an open D chord, like this. Remember that the part I just played for Tom Fogerty is done in standard tuning, whereas John's is the drop double D tuning. Also, you may have noticed before, but the studio recording of Proud Mary is slightly below standard A440 tuning. So if you tune your guitar with a standard guitar tuner, it will not be in tune with the studio recording. Well, I hope you enjoyed the dissection of Proud Mary as much as I did. I love his swamp sound. I think you'll enjoy playing it. If you like what you're hearing, please hit the subscribe button. And please stay tuned to Guitar Riffs Played Right for the dissection of additional famous songs, as well as the next video I'm going to put out about the solo and the fills on Proud Mary. Just love that swamp sound.